This is Phantology.
You may have heard of us.
All right, what's up, refugees from Ashton? This is Stephen, your host with Phantology Podcast, and we've got a full crew on to talk about Wind and Truth. Ben, Josh, Jake, and Ryan are all here with me. We're going to start with a quick set of predictions for what will happen. And by the way, this is going to be full spoilers for the book. So if you haven't read yet, then probably don't want to listen until you're done reading. But Josh has not yet
And I
finished
think,
reading.
wait, real fast. I think we're
Yeah.
doing full Cosmere spoilers. I think let's just throw that out there.
Full
Don't click on the
everything.
video. Don't look at the comments in the video. Don't.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just this is not your place.
If you're not current on the Cosmere, or maybe if you just be aware that there might be some
Be aware.
sub spoilers. Yeah.
Yep.
Speaking of, Josh is not current on the Cosmere.
Right. Josh has
not.
not yet finished the book, but he's here at the start of the episode because he's going to give his predictions / guarantees for what will happen at the end of this book. Josh, how far are you currently?
I just started day 9, so I was making a valiant effort to finish so I could be on.
Wait,
for the
day
full
10.
episode
I thought
with
you said you finished day 9.
Sorry, day 10. Day 10. I just
Oh my
started day
goodness.
10.
You don't
Okay.
even know where
Yeah.
you are.
So you only
Well,
have
I
like
just
200
what day
I just
is
finished
it?
in.
Erisic
just
Lowlander over here.
I just finished day 9. I'm on day 10, and I was trying my hardest to finish, but I could not do it. So I'm gonna throw out some guarantees, and
Yeah.
then you guys can laugh at me after I
Yeah.
exit the episode.
Okay. So Josh, let's hear like what's going to happen at the end of the book.
Yeah. So of course Dalinar is going to kill Gav, who obviously is going to be Odium's champion, and then he is going to, I think, just sticking with my general prediction from the few episodes ago, he's going to be a general for Odium throughout the Cosmere. I think that he is also going to be some sort of vessel for honor. That's been hinted at pretty heavily. And so I think that somehow Odium is going to gain control of the parts of honor, and then we'll also be able to control Dalinar. So we're going to leave it pretty bleak on the shard front of Dalinar possessing most of the power of honor, but also being under Odium's command.
Oh, dang.
Yes.
Okay. How's it going to go for our other
I think that
other heroes? Kaladin, Adolin.
yeah.
Clearly, Josh only cares about the contest of champions. There is no other part of the book.
No, that was the Phantology guarantee I made last time, so I'm re-upping that.
Okay.
I
Doubling
think that
down.
I think obviously it's going to be at this point. I think it has to be that Seth and Shallan at least become heralds. I think that that's pretty heavily into that they'll become heralds. And
Shallan
Adolin-
because of the Chana stuff.
yeah, Shallan because of the Jaina stuff. And I mean, it's like hinted that she already has some heraldic powers in terms of her connection to the spiritual realm. At first, we thought it was that she had it's because she had 2 bonds that she had an extra connection to the spiritual realm. But in fact, it was because of because she was the daughter of a herald. So they're going to for sure be heralds. I'm not sure if we're going to get all 10 new heralds or if it's just going to be rounding out the Oath Pact. I think all 10 heralds. I mean, I think we talked a little bit about that last time, that there would be 10 people between anyway, we don't have to go all through it.
Sure.
That would be a bit of a stretch for me. That would be cool. I don't know if we'll get all 10 new heralds though. I don't know if we need all 10 new heralds. My herald knowledge isn't like super up to par even throughout this book. I don't know if I could, name off all 10 and where they're at, but yeah.
Right. You're not really sure what exactly Videl can do
Yeah.
or who she
If he
represents.
needs, if they need to be replaced or not. Yeah, I don't know.
Uh-huh,
But I think
yeah.
obviously I think that Kaladin is going to, I want him to heal Ishar. I think that would be pretty cool if he can somehow heal Ishar, and then Ishar can teach Dalinar something important, and then that will help him mitigate the losses from the contest of champions.
All kind of coming together. Okay.
Yeah.
Adolin's fate.
Adolin, I mean, I don't know if he's going to become a radiant yet. It seems like when he was being pounded into the ground after after the lines broke, that could be like kind of his moment to actually be broken enough to become a Knights Radiant. And if he was able to move past his like mental blocks and everything, seemed like that broke him down enough. I don't I don't know if that's going to be the case where he can bond Maya now and like restore her, or I don't know. I'm not making any strong guarantees, but obviously there's going to be some sort of change. I don't know if that's going to be him becoming radiant or him just finding a way to like. I don't know what's going on with Maya. I still don't know. I don't have any strong guarantees there. Besides that, she's found a way to heal dead eyes. It seems like, that's got to be something, but I don't know how or why. Yeah. What other?
I mean, those are the main things, I guess.
We have Relaine, and
you still have what's going on in the Shattered Plains. That's kind of the other main part of the plot.
Yeah, my impression there was that they had some sort of ruse where the singers, it's like whoever controls the Shattered Plains would maintain control. So I don't know if it's like going to technically be handed back to that group of singers because they like were in control of it. I think that would be a kind of cool outcome. That was my impression, but I'm not sure
listeners.
The listeners, sorry. Did I say singers? The listeners.
Yeah. But I mean, you're technically right. Yeah.
Yeah. That was my impression. I'm not sure if that was like meant to be said or if I just like interpreted that wrong, but that's kind of my thought is that, okay, well, if they technically control the Shattered Plains when going into the champion, then that is handed control back over to them. So it won't be controlled by the Alethi or by Odium. It could be controlled by them. Yeah, I think that's about it.
That's some solid material that we could roast you on.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's going to be some big moments. I'm ready for them. I hope that there's some big moments. I think that the book needs at least a few more good moments. It's been good, but it needs a few more good moments, I think. Yeah.
I mean, Sanderson, he likes to deliver those and hold those off till the end. So yeah.
Say one thing about Sanderson. Say he likes to Sanderlanche.
I feel like we're just past the part where like the
Sanderlanche
normally starts. So anyway, I'm gonna get back to reading. I might finish tonight.
Yeah. Quick rating out of 5 before you go so far.
Out of 5?
Or 10, or like whatever scale you want to do.
Yeah. I'm like sitting at an 8 right now. I think
8 out of 5. Nice.
8 out of 5, 4 out of 5, or 8 out of 10.
Extra credit.
I think that right now there needs to be something big that happens if it's going to go above an 8 like that. I'm like, I haven't really let out like a cheer, like audibly, like, cheered yet. And so there needs to be a cheer for it to be above an 8. There's been big moments and you guys will go over those, but I need a cheer for it to go above an 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
We want you to record yourself doing the cheer whenever
set up just a camera to watch you read the rest of it. Like people did on like the Game of Thrones, like the Red Wedding episode. I'm not saying that there's Red Wedding events going to happen, but
that'd be depressing, man. That would be depressing.
Did Steven do that to you guys? For the Red Wedding
I attempted to. It didn't really work.
Oh, it did.
Ben was like on his phone during the Red Wedding.
He was like just staring like puzzled at like what was happening. Like
it's a very puzzling situation. Like swiping Tinder and then you got like a bunch of throats being slit with that cheering singing on top.
I got Mackenzie good. You can go back and watch that in Discord. My wife, when she watched it, it was a good reaction. So all right. I'm getting out, guys.
Josh out. Okay. Enjoy the rest of the book.
Thanks.
Man, it is crazy how much you can get wrong.
Well, I mean, I was actually.
I was joking. That's something I wanted to say while he was on, but I didn't know if he would take it as a spoiler or not.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of he's checking a lot of boxes, but not like I thought it was so funny. He was like, Dalinar is going to be the general, which is like you could say in a way.
It kind of happened.
Dalinar is going to be the Shard of Honor, but Taravangian is going to control the Shard of Honor, so he'll be in control of both because he's controlling Dalinar. So it's funny how many things he got right but wrong.
Like the ordering of all of the things.
Yeah,
a little
bit. He was on track though. Like high level view, he got the fact that like Dalinar wouldn't kill Gav, which
I mean, we've all been saying that.
Yeah. Well, I guess we had the death rattle, right? Yeah. But I mean, high level, and then that Odium is gonna gain some type of control over honor. And
Yeah.
He pretty much
Yeah.
nailed the Shattered Plains, like really right on. Like neither side's going to control it because technically it's going to be the listeners. Like
I forget how much information you
basically,
have at the start
you
of the
have a
10,
lot
though.
of
Yeah.
like.
You have a lot.
So they after
Yeah.
day 9, they had like surreptitiously handed off some paper,
Yeah.
and
Once the
Bentley was like
paper
sitting
was
there with
dropped.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like he did it. Yeah, like good on Josh for putting that together. I don't think that's like the most challenging thing in the world to figure
Yeah.
out at this point, but yeah, that
But
I
we're
feel
so
like
proud of you, Josh.
I feel like I feel like he's really not picking up on some hints for Adolin though. Like I predicted like pretty early on in the book that Maya was going to come back and arm people as Starblades, and I'm like not saying that that was exactly 100% accurate, but pretty
Yeah.
close. I mean, and so it seems
Yeah.
like
And
yeah,
it feels like Josh sees his different set of values as mental blocks, whereas like I didn't see him that way. I saw him like that's just who he is, you know, like that's how he sees the world, and it's not a block, it's
yeah.
just different. But I can't remember he was part of our predictions like
in our
before the book
predictions
came
episode,
out.
yeah.
Um, and I can't remember if he predicted Adolin becoming
We
radiant or
said
not in
Adolin would
that.
die before the book
Yeah,
came out. We
I thought he
were,
was gonna die.
I think
I
we were
mean,
fairly united on saying he
yeah,
would
when
die.
that thunderclash
Josh
fell
part
on
of it
him,
too.
that was not helpful. Um, but do you think Josh is going to let out any cheers? I mean, the Unbound
Unoathed,
Unoathed, yeah,
unoathed,
yeah,
assemble.
assemble,
That
yeah,
could be a
Oh my
cheer.
gosh.
Could be a
yeah,
cheer
that
for
could be a
Josh.
cheer.
That was we've talked about it in Discord. That was like a worst of the best for me. Where like that moment was so sick, but
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
way
we
the
kind
line,
of went away from the worst of the best segment on the channel,
yeah,
but yeah,
he did.
It was
yeah.
just some cheesy dialogue.
Yeah. It felt a lot like Autobots roll out or Avengers assemble, like you into that. My brother had finished it
Well, I
before
liked
being
how, like in the text of the book, Adolin says unoathed, arm up, and Yanagan says, "What?
what?
Like,
Yeah.
what the heck is an unoathed?"
Yeah. Um, my brother had texted me. He's like, "Where? What part are you at?" And he was like, "Let me know when you've reached the Transformers line." And as
Oh my
soon as I
gosh.
read that, I was like, "Oh yeah, this is what he's talking about."
Well,
Dang, your
okay, I
brother's
think
coming with the spoilers
yeah,
on the
that's
text message? Dang.
Well, not a spoiler. I mean, called it the Transformers line. Like,
Okay.
what would
Well,
that spoil?
yeah,
um.
yeah. Hopefully there's no more than that.
Yeah,
Well, I say overall good job, Josh. That was good. I think you
yeah.
nailed some. You're far more accurate than I was when I was predicting that Adolin was going to take up on honor.
Yeah, Ben gave
Oh
up
yeah,
like a
yeah.
1,000% guarantee
It felt so right.
on the Discord channel. And by the way, if you're listening and want to join in and chat about this book or any others, you can hop on our Discord. Invites are in the episode description. But Ben on the Discord was so sure that what, Ben?
That Adolin was going to take up honor. I mean, I was so sure. Like when he was getting beat down and stuff, and wanted to have his like one last interaction with his father. Like I was like, oh, he's stood trial from like with the honor spread and came out victorious, and he's kind of like realized that promises are more important than oaths, which is like such a thing that like the shard like Tannervast like was trying to like help honor understand like all these things like, and maybe it was because it was 2:30 and I feel like I'm like the Always Sunny in Philadelphia meme of like putting all these things together, but it just clicks so well in my head. I'm like, this has to happen, and it didn't even come close. Aelin didn't even go say goodbye to his
I did
father.
I did think that somebody else other than Dalinar was going to take up the Shard of Honor.
Well,
Like anyone specifically, or you just thought in
No,
general
I mean,
we'd be thrown off?
yeah, I was like, like who's gonna do it? I don't
I, I
know.
mean, somebody
But
did.
yeah, obviously.
Um,
I think all of us were at some point not thinking it was going to be Dalinar because of the fact that like he isn't a good fit for the vessel. Like you find that out more and more throughout the book. And so I think I mean it's kind of for those who are like I knew
I
Dalinar
mean,
was going to do it.
kind
It's kind of
of, but then also like Navani's like urging him to kind of become a a better man and start listening rather than acting so rashly. And so like you could also like maybe Brandon's trying to throw you off in that direction, thinking like, oh, maybe he's changing to become a better
Yeah,
fit for honor.
but the main issue you learn as the book progresses with honor having a vessel is no human can be that like black and white with
Rigidly
things.
honorable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
According to the vessel's interpretate or the shard's interpretation of what being honorable is. And so like I didn't see any part of Dalinar's character arc in any book get him more aligned with that. If anybody, like Nail probably would be the most aligned with that. But I guess what I'm saying is it's kind of sneaky. If anyone tries to say, "Oh, I knew Dalinar was going to take it," it's like, well,
Yeah.
for all the reasons people thought Dalinar wasn't going to take it is the reason he gave it up to. You know what I mean? So great. I guess a good twist there by Brandon. But
they're the people that would have died by Shallan's knife as well, because they didn't see they wouldn't have looked past the twist.
wait,
What?
Sorry, I was thinking people that
Look,
predicted
you're making a
down-
joke there and it's going
Okay.
over our head.
People,
Yeah.
okay, we can maybe just cut this. But the one
No,
I was
you're
going
good.
for
No, you say it.
was people
No,
that
you're
were
on the hook
predicting.
now. We're not cutting this.
People that
Oh,
were
we're on that.
predicting Dalinar taking up honor were just straightforwardly looking at the situation and being like, "Oh, this is like I'm predicting this because this is like all the pieces that are put in place." Similar to how Murray's didn't realize, like he was like, "Oh, she, like she pickpocketed me," when in reality, that's what got him
Nice,
killed.
nice.
You know,
The double
but
switch.
in
Yeah.
this case, they were right, which so.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I mean, the book goes. We don't need to focus on this, but it's just interesting how, as things progress, that theory became more true and less true, but ended up being true. If that makes sense.
So I do want to get into like just a review of the book, but can I make one Fantology guarantee for the remaining?
Is this like a
What's-
speculation?
Already
This is
6 through
like
10 guarantee.
Is this like
Definitely-
a Cosmere speculation or what do we
no.
got
This
here?
is so. I think that because we know that there's been some honor that's been preserved, right? With like specifically with the heralds, they're all like
some
a
of the
part
little
of
remnants
honor.
that left before Odium took the
Yep. And so I think, and we also know that there's been some like honor kind of starts to gain some sentience, being so long without a
older.
And it's
host.
preserved
Yeah.
in the new Oath Pact, like with Kaladin.
Yeah.
It's preserved.
Yeah. So I think that I think it might also involve cultivation kind of coming back and growing and growing up this like I don't know, growing up the shard of honor that we have left and kind of reforming a shard that we thought
Like she's
was splintered.
raising this like baby version of honor
Uh-huh.
into. Okay.
That's not how I understood it.
I'm not sure if this is kind of a wild speculation. I'm not saying that this is
So you're saying is like the main version of honor we've seen. Dalinar takes it, releases it. Taravangian takes it.
yeah. So that's like the
But-
98% of honor. Yeah.
The 2% that was saved with Kaladin, the new Oath Pact, and wherever else, that is going to coalesce into a baby
shard,
baby.
which
baby shard.
maybe cultivation
Cultivation
can
is
kind of
gonna-
come in.
Okay. I
And
see.
so we kind of have like a newly formed shard of Aiden Alcium.
Honor versus honor.
Honor versus retribution. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
interpreted that sequence of events differently. I interpreted like there's the power, honor, and then there's like the sentience growing within honor. And then Dalinar was like, yeah, go join Odium and become a different shard. And like that encouragement led them to merge into retribution. And I'm guessing that, later on down the line, that sentience is going to be Taravangian's undoing or play a part in it.
I think that's probably right.
Yeah, I don't think those are mutually exclusive.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with the sentient part of it. I know for sure that that's like what happened. What you just described is like what happened. But
Okay.
there was also a line that was like, "Oh, a part of honor will be preserved," And so
Well,
I'm just
there
kind
were
of
like
speculating
parts,
about that.
small parts that were break that like left the main shard, right?
Right. And so
Yeah.
I'm not even like the sentience thing could go either way. It's probably what you said. Um, I'm just like there could be I'm the overall thing I'm predicting is like a reforming of the Shard of
Mm.
Honor. So
Yeah, I don't know what all the parts of honor. I mean, part of it was definitely like going towards the Oath Pact and forming the new like spear, right? That Kaladin got his honor spear, I guess we'll call it. But I think Brandon kind of has given himself a little bit of a loophole here in that he said, "Oh yeah, some pieces of honor went off, and he can kind of do whatever he wants now with
mhm.
that. Like if he needs to later on like do something more, he can say, "Oh yeah, this was just part of the honor that flew off at the
Yeah.
end."
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
think he has a specific plan for it?
I think he does, but I
I
would
think
be
he
interested to
has
like, yeah, I think he has ideas of a plan, but maybe not like
His
the whole
concept of
thing.
a plan.
Yeah,
concepts of
yeah,
plan. No, I think he has a plan for it, but I'm sure other things will come up and it'll be like, oh yeah, it could be used for
yeah.
this as well. Like
Yeah.
a singular uh event at the very least that he's has in mind for
Mhm.
it, but other things will pop up that'll be used for.
I'm a little with this whole thing. I'm a little concerned about putting this like young adult honor in the hands of Odium. Like, I understand what we're trying to do here, but at the same time, wouldn't Odium just corrupt this youthful honor
I don't
being,
think it can
whatever
be
we want to
corrupt.
call it?
I don't think it can be corrupted. Like Tanavas didn't corrupt it with all his oath breaking.
Hmm. But like
Yeah, I
Dalinar's
think it's
trying
kind
to,
of arisen from the intent of the shard.
Yeah, it's the
mm,
intent itself, and Dalinar was trying to show it a different. I mean, does it even
different
exist
interpretation.
anymore?
It does because there was a line where Odium tries to
Yeah,
do
he keeps them
something or
separate.
whatever, and he feels this resistance in the power.
Hmm.
And that I don't remember exactly what the line was,
I
but
mean, but
basically it was connected back to like, okay,
oh,
honor is like, has a little bit of its own thing
I
now.
interpreted that as just the same way if you're trying to destroy something with preservation, you're gonna get
Can we
resistance, but it's
just
probably more.
Mm.
can we talk about though how cool it was how aligned the powers of honor and odium are and how that was like totally whenever I considered honor, I hadn't really considered like the examples that Sanderson gave in the book of um honor killing or dueling
Yeah.
somebody out of honor and kind of all these more violent or maybe less than honorable things that honor can stand
Right.
for, you know?
Right.
And so I thought it was so cool how he's able to reframe that and then merge those powers together so that they are in alignment, unlike preservation and ruin, which we know are kind of at a stalemate with Sazed and making it
Mm.
impossible for him to really do what he as much as he wants. Anyway, I thought that was super cool how he's able to reframe that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is it
Yeah.
is it confirmed? I'm trying to remember back. It's confirmed that wait, is Retribution a singular shard now, or did Taravangian purposely hold them
No, I think it's kind of like
separate?
I think it's kind of um
So just like Harmony,
I feel
because I
like
thought
the
he.
I don't think the powers ever like completely merge together, do they? Like is
I
Harmony
thought a
one
word of
shard now? Like
I thought
I
it
think
is.
can
retribution and harmony are
can
like the similar thing. Like
can Ruin and Preservation be separated back out of Harmony if it
I
came
don't.
to that, or have they
I think you could the
merged?
same way you split Adel Nauseam.
So with the Dawn
Hmm.
shards.
I think I'm gonna Google it.
Uh,
If Sazed dies,
hmm.
does Harmony
Go back to two
exist as
powers.
a shard?
Yeah. Okay.
If Sazed were to die, the shard left behind would be Harmony.
Hmm.
Or Discord, depending on which one he
So the
is.
powers have merged on an axial level, as they
There you go.
say in Roshar.
yes,
But I
that
thought
must be correct because
I don't know if I'm in like theory land too much, but I thought I have an idea in my head, and I don't know if it's in the book or outside of the book, that Taravangian purposely didn't merge them for a reason. But it sounds like he probably did.
Oh,
Is
like
that
he
just
kept. Well,
Well,
but if, I feel like if he kept them apart, then why is it now retribution?
like he is retribution, but I don't know. I don't know.
I
That
do
might be,
remember a line being saying something along the lines of like, as he did that, he felt like honor and like honor, the power of honor, like becoming like more one or within him.
Yeah. I think it's
yeah,
probably a time thing, that
maybe not then.
the longer
Mm.
they're exposed to each other, the more of the intent will start to kind of seep through.
Yeah.
It
Mm.
is
Um,
it is interesting because we know that Odium or Rays, who controlled Odium in the past, had avoided accepting
Right.
other
Oh,
shards.
that's what I'm thinking of. Sorry, that's what I'm thinking of. It mentions that in the book for specifically not wanting to end up in a situation like Sazed or Sazed
Yeah,
of
because
yeah.
I mean, your power
yeah,
grows, but your actions need to align with the intent
yeah.
of both shards. So it's like the
Mm.
actions you can take becomes further limited.
Sorry. Yes, that's what I was remembering. So retribution, as I currently understand it now, is what you guys are saying. It is the same as harmony, fused into one. I think like the sentience of the honor shard still potentially being there. I wouldn't, from the way the physics have been presented thus far, I wouldn't expect that to still exist because honor as a shard doesn't exist anymore. But this
Mm.
is all new territory, like
Right.
brand new to us. So whether the new physics have been established or not, I'm sure Brandon will find a way for it to
The
still be
vibe
there.
I'm getting from all of this and going down into more of a big Cosmere, I'll make this a guarantee. Why not, right? Like I feel
Yeah.
like I'm guaranteeing that the way that the Cosmere is going to end up here is we've got a lot of hints at they're realizing that killing Athanasium was a really bad idea because now we've got all these shards that have singular intents, and when you have one intent, it's really hard to actually like make any good out of it, especially when Reyes goes and kills the one that actually provides a lot of that goodness. I don't remember which shard that was exactly.
The compassion or
It
Yeah.
was either de devotion. Well, devotion and dominion were both killed on
On
Cell,
Cell.
right? But it was the other one. What was the first one that he killed?
that he splintered.
Uh, I don't remember. Anyway, you take the point. So I feel like what we're getting to is at the end of all this, I don't think we're getting any reforming of Adonalsium. That's just kind of, I don't know, it's a little too clunky. I'm not really loving that. But it seems like what we're seeing with Honor, that these shards will be able to adapt and become more of like their own thing and no longer just be limited to like the singular bad intent and become a little more dynamic. I don't know
So
how this happens for each of them. Yeah, but they all
a
kind
bunch
of
of
like
mini
start to
Adonalsiums.
get this. They all, yeah, exactly. They start to get a little bit of this Dalinar to honor, each of them somehow. This idea starts to seep through, and yeah, we get a little more dynamic with our lowercase g gods.
Do you think they'll get to a point where they don't even need a vessel then? Like they'll just be the shard
Hmm.
itself can wield its own power, you know? That was something I was thinking about. Like if honor the entity were like mature enough, would it really need because because if you are a physical being who touches it, you instantly basically evaporate into a spiritual being only. And honor, the shard exists in the spiritual realm mostly already, so it's not like unless maybe there is some new physics we don't know that you need to have a physical host, of the power. But anyways,
I mean, we're
I like
seeing
that guarantee.
Spren. We're seeing Spren from the cognitive realm now seeping over to the physical realm more
Yeah,
and more, and
Yeah.
even using the corpses of their other Spren as honor as shard bearers now.
yeah,
Um, okay, real fast. We've like super theory land area right
yeah.
now. Do we
I mean,
want to do
that's
like
the
a?
best part of this book.
It's totally
That's the
part of
best
this book.
part.
I
Yeah,
Like,
agree.
this
in my mind,
review
it's
is
the
not
best part.
super, it's not super focused thus far. We've had a few different segments, but I think what Ben is trying to steer us back to is a little bit more high level of what did we think
Yeah,
about
about
Wind
the
and
book.
Truth,
Yeah.
and we have some
Yeah.
time. I think we're gonna push this out to be a little bit longer episode because the book was a little bit longer. So yeah,
Checks out a little.
should we talk about the book a little bit? Wind and Truth, 1,344 pages of Brandon Sanderson. I gave it an 8 out of 10. Josh, I was aligned with where Josh was at. My final rating is 8 out of 10.
I will go ahead and say I'm giving it a 10 out of 10 because
Whoa.
although
Okay.
there,
No,
yeah,
come on.
are the
Oh,
although
come on.
there are some negatives, I'm pushing back against the
Dude, 10 out of 10
prevailing.
means there's no negatives. It means 100%.
I
Do you know
listen.
that-
I can give a 10 out of 10
You
to whatever I
can't
want
acknowledge
to.
negatives
You
and give a
can.
10 out of 10.
I can.
It
doesn't
because
track for
the
me.
narratives represent journey before destination, Stephen.
You can say that
The-
the sum is greater or whatever. Like all
Yeah.
all
I
the
think
parts,
What's greater than the
sums.
parts? Yeah.
Yeah, yep, that's right. Thank you, Jake.
That's it.
I think that the negatives that are there are simply imperfections that highlight the beauty of the masterpiece. So I'm
Yeah.
going 10 out of 10.
Ben, I
Yeah.
don't think anyone really comes to Fantology for hard-hitting like journalistic critiques of books, but you're not helping our case with that one. I'm gonna say it's probably for me between a 7 and an 8, so I'll just say 7.5 out of 10.
All right. All right.
I really liked it. I thought that the pacing for the book was overall pretty good, especially compared to like Oathbringer and Rhythm of War, where there were some slower parts, in my opinion. I don't think that the highs of the book were quite as high as The Way of Kings and Words of Radiance, in my opinion. Like the Sanderlanche wasn't quite as satisfying, and I think maybe that's because the actions of the characters like all take place in very different, like they're all kind of separated. Adolin's in Aesir, Dalinar's like in Urithiru in the spiritual realm, Kaladin and Zethar and Shinovar. So but overall I thought it was a great book, and I really enjoyed it. I didn't have any huge like things that I disliked, so I'm gonna give it an 8.5 out of 10.
Okay.
All right. Nice. I'll revise mine to be a 12 out of 10. So the overall rating has come up to be like a 9.5 out of 10.
Okay. Fantology has
That's
given
maths.
this book a 10
Yeah.
out of 10, thanks to Ben's math.
Yeah.
All right, so let's react to. We're not going to get into the whole. Maybe this will be a future episode, but there's this whole thing going on of a lot of YouTubers are crapping on the book or cremming on the book, as I'm trying to make a
Cremming,
thing.
yes.
No, I'm trying
Yes.
to make this a thing, but every time I always kind of chicken out, honestly.
Do it. Don't check it out. There's
Yeah.
a subreddit called Creme Posting.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Okay.
it's in the
I'm gonna
zeitgeist.
recommit. I'm gonna recommit
Recommit.
to creme
This is your
Instead of, like,
2025 goal.
instead of crap.
Like,
Yeah.
It's an
Yeah.
oath.
Okay.
is
It's
it
an
a
oath.
promise or an oath?
Yeah.
It's an oath.
It's a
All
promise?
right.
I'm referencing the book also, our little Yule oath. So it's an oath.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, in my daily life, I'm gonna try to use creme instead of crap, and people have no idea what it means. And we'll see
I
if-
thought you meant in all times.
In all
Okay,
times.
yeah,
In all
I
times.
understand now. I understand the
Even
chickening
that's
out.
why it's a little bit of a chickening
Yeah.
out situation.
I thought you
Yeah.
meant like you're chickening out in like Discord. I was like, why are you chickening out in Discord?
No, yeah, Discord
Okay.
is yeah.
No, I
yeah.
get it, but I'm here to support you in this.
Yeah,
this oath.
I'm gonna try to just make the thing
Jake's
and see
like,
if
"Oh, in
people
that
are
case,
like taken
definitely don't
aback
do-"
for a second. Like, what did he say? Maybe they talk about it with their spouse
No,
afterwards. or
yeah,
something,
just
like,
say
what?
creme.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
it's great.
yep. All right. Anyway, where was I going with this?
You're
There's
Yeah,
a big discourse online.
yeah.
Reviewers are cremming on it.
Reviewers are cremming on it, and I mean, it's to the point where it's in your face if you're in the community at all, and I feel like it's a little more negative than it needs to be. I think there are very valuable points as to why the book is not a 10 out of 10 despite Ben's rating. But I do think that some are kind of taking this to the point where it's like Stormlight Archive is judged on a different standard than other books, and because it's Brandon Sanderson, we're just like, this book must be perfect, and if it's not, then we're deducting a star for every like slight imperfection. I mean, look, I don't know where I'm going with this, but I guess the point is you can have your review, that's fine, but I do think that it's getting a little too easy to be negative on a book that like a lot of people really liked for the most part, but YouTubers especially are like, no, it was not quite perfect, and so I'm
Yeah.
taking off stars.
Yeah, and like you said, we'll probably address this in detail in a later episode, but I have a lot of mixed feelings about what you just said there because
Yeah,
first of all,
you can
everyone's
tell that I kind of do too. Like I'm a little, yeah. This is why it needs to be a future episode because I haven't really thought through it quite enough.
like everyone's scale is different. So like Matt's book reviews gave it a 2 out of 5. Like I'd have to see what are some threes, fours
Mm,
out of five, you know? What are his other two
right.
out of fives? Because that's one where I agreed with almost every single one of his points in terms of it being a critique, but not to that degree, obviously. The other thing is like I'm sorry, whenever someone brings up a Goodreads score, it means nothing. Like you can see there are
I think
plenty
it
of
means
books
something.
rated. It means people liked it, but it doesn't have any indication of the quality of the book as like prose, writing, like the
Okay.
pacing, like it and the climax, like it just doesn't. Like you
People
look at
do
the
like those
ratings.
things though. Like a
Yeah, but
you're
the
saying
average
the
person,
common reader is just a dunce, and so whatever they put on Goodreads is irrelevant because they don't
I'm
understand
not saying
prose.
Careful,
that. I'm
Jake.
saying
Careful.
what I'm
I
saying
am
is
a
if you look,
dunce.
what I'm saying is there's just such a bias with something like an audience score where it's you're not really going to rate it unless you really liked it or you really didn't like it,
When Jake looks
you
at a Rotten
know?
Tomatoes
And
score, he only looks at the critic score.
well, no, you take both into consideration, but when
Sure.
in terms of like
You just said, quote, the Goodreads score means nothing.
well, the Goodreads especially because it's even I feel like it's like a microcosm of this where like if you look
So
at
you're
a
saying
book,
it's
good
survivorship
odds it's
bias,
4 out of 5.
is
It's a
what you're
four out of
saying.
five book. Every book that has ever been popular is a 4 out of 5 book. Like look at other books with
On
4.6
Goodreads.
ratings on Goodreads.
There's not though. Like most Goodreads scores are between 3.5 to 4.7. And if
That's
you
what I'm
have a
saying. It's a
four
four out of
like
five. It's a most books are 4 out of 5 on
yeah,
average.
but
That's what I'm saying.
the Goodreads review, the current is like 4.64. So it's like really
Yeah, but
high on your so
that's
like most
not
people are
that's
giving it fives.
what I'm saying is these they don't mean anything, these ratings, in terms of validating the actual quality of a book and something that what you would expect like a reviewer to do, like one on YouTube. I'm not
Mm,
including myself in this really, is to like actually critique it on some sort of rubric, some criteria that is more
okay,
than
sure.
I like this book, I didn't like this book, which is what Goodreads is. It's just like I was excited about it, I wasn't excited about it. Like people aren't doing more in-depth analyses of the books on Goodreads. As much as like they're long-winded in their comments, that's just not really the platform for that. And so comparing it to a Goodreads score, comparing what
I
someone is
agree that
proposing to be a like more literary critique of the book to a score on Goodreads, those it's apples to oranges. So like that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
You'd have
That's
to see more of
fair.
like like the and again, that's if like the YouTuber is doing more than just what the Goodreads review is. And
yeah,
I think most
there's definitely like a difference
YouTubers,
between a YouTuber that would like read 6 books in 1 month and be like, here's a quick like little four
yeah,
out of five. Like there's definitely space for that. And there's also I think the
yeah,
type of content that we enjoy is more like long form. Here's the reasons why I'm giving it the score. And
yeah. And I'm
yeah.
not invalidating either
Mm.
score. I'm just saying it's not really comparable. So using the Goodreads score to outweigh someone
But
else's review, it just doesn't
here's
mean anything.
here's my thing. This book was 500,000 words long, and people are getting hung up on like 15 of those words. And it's frustrating to me. And I see why they are, but it's frustrating to me. So anyway, that's my little rant.
I think that's
Um,
really reductive, but
I mean, it probably is, but that's how I feel right now because I've read like
yeah.
dozens of reviews that are like, "Oh, he used the word therapist, and like, how dare he use that word? It's so anachronistic." And I feel cool because I can say that word, like it's just weird. So
Yeah, so most of the arguments are the book's too long and the phrasings are like modern and jarring, and
And it's more than
there's
just the therapist when it comes to the modern
okay, yeah, like the
phrasing.
yeah,
proof
yeah.
proof 200 and
Not even just that. Like it's just
There's a lot. It's
the
more than
more
15.
okay,
I
yeah.
would say honestly there's probably like 60.
And I'm not talking specific words. I think a big part of that critique is just the colloquialness of all the
Yeah.
conversations where
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like an epic, is what people
Yeah.
are critiquing.
And like I agree with that critique.
Yeah.
no, I agree with the critique, but for me, it doesn't make it a 2 out of 5 book. It's like I can have a
Yeah.
critique,
No,
but
yeah. And
also,
that,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? Like to me, first of all, this is why I guess this is like articulating it a bit more, making it less reductive. I think that most of Sanderson's readers are not coming to him for like the prose. I think that prose has always been a critique of Sanderson, and most people
Yeah.
have kind of that have chosen to read 5,000 page long books have realized that they're not coming here for like amazing
Mm.
prose. And so now to like take away from like
Yeah.
the amazing plot and character and themes that were like presented in this book and complain about that prose because it's like not exactly what you wanted is a little like I
Well,
understand the
I
critique
think
being
most
there,
people who are
but
giving 2 out of 5 are also critiquing those other things
see, I
as
guess I just
well.
haven't heard
Yeah.
those
Yeah,
critiques as much.
you should listen to Matt's book review. I think that's the most popular 2 out of 5 star review.
Okay, I'll listen. Yeah.
But but I understand. I agree with you. Like to me, I agreed with all of his critiques. Like, yeah, I was disappointed in that, but it wasn't a 2 out of 5
It
for
wasn't a two
me.
out of five. Yeah.
But again, for that prose thing though, the pushback on that I'd say is if you already come to expect like middling prose from an author and you're okay with that and these other things make up for it, but then you get to another book in the series and it goes from middling to worse than that.
To
Like
worse.
I could see that as being like disappointing
Yeah,
enough
but
where
I
you're
mean, come
like,
on.
man, I gave it a chance and now it's just getting worse. I'm not into it anymore.
I mean, that's fair. But like again, that goes back to like we've always had sharding. We've always had, like a little bit
Yeah,
more like
I know. Freaking hate
interesting
that so
phrases.
much.
It's not like this is just
Yeah.
popped up out of nowhere.
It is really frustrating because there's like so much of Brandon stuff that we love, and that's why we're like,
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
this, right? But there are those things where it's like, man, it's not even about like making it better. It's just like removing stuff.
Yeah.
Removing some small things would really make this a
Yeah.
better product. And just like, why don't you just do it? It's kind of where I
See,
land.
I don't think he agrees with it though. Like if you read his comments that address like this pro
I
stuff, he's
know.
like, he's saying, well, and you should go read his comments. They're like easily found on Reddit, but he's basically
Yeah.
saying,
Yeah.
I look at this as me interpreting, um, like if somebody came to me and told me the story in Alethi, I'm going to interpret it in English and use those words or whatever. Like that's kind of how he said that he's approaching this. And so when Still calls somebody a tool, that doesn't mean she was using the English word for tool. That means that the Alethi had a word that meant the same thing as tool, and that's the word she used.
Yeah. No,
Like
I
so,
Yeah. I mean,
understand.
it's
Yeah, it's an approach.
yeah. So
yeah, and I think that the pushback on that approach should be art when you're translating for a target audience, and the target audience that it's being translated for is not me. It is not. It is not. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's it. I think most of these things, these critiques are, and at least when it comes with the prose and the like modernness and that kind of stuff, it's an intentional decision on Sanderson's part.
yeah,
It's not a like a mess up, you know. It's a miss
Yeah.
for me in terms of styling and like preference,
It's
but
frustrating because
okay.
I guess
yeah.
but I just want to say like I don't necessarily agree, Stephen, what you said that there's undue criticism of the book. I think all the criticisms I've seen, again, I haven't been, it hasn't affected the book as negatively, my enjoyment of the book as much as it has these reviewers. But I think all the criticisms are valid, and like everyone's like has the right to have these criticisms. Like
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't
not saying
know.
they don't have a right. Yeah, I know. But like
yeah,
No,
also,
and I
right,
don't
I'm
want to.
not trying to say that.
I don't want to. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm not even sure what came out of my mouth during that time. But yeah, I don't want to
Yeah,
push back and say like people can't have their opinions. I do feel like
yeah,
there's a little bit of a like there's a line between like this book is not my preference and this is like an objectively
yeah.
negative thing. And
yeah.
so when people are saying like the book is too long, I really kind of push back and say like then you don't like Sanderson because like
Well, or you
that's
don't
his
like
thing, you
ethic
know,
high.
like
Like
yeah.
the
I
only
mean
thing I
it
could
could
think
be
of when I
shorter
was reading
for
this,
sure.
yeah,
If it's shorter, it's removing details that are what epic fantasy is, and that is kind of what like Stormlight
yeah.
is. Like Brandon is he could do this, but this is the story he wants to tell. So you're just kind of saying like this isn't the series for me, and I don't see that as an
I,
objective criticism.
no, but it is because like I also agree it should have been shorter, and it's not because I don't like to read more. It's because the quality would have been better with fewer pages if it were distilled into something. I thought this pacing was a lot better than Rhythm of War in terms of character arcs, but I still think the pacing was like it was like a Sanderlanche the whole book. And to me, the issue with that is you kind of get like it kind of loses its Sanderlanche intensity because it is just happening the whole time. And so if it was written a little tighter, and it's not because I don't like the word count, but like it's like you could read something that's 1,000 pages long and it feels like it's 2,000 pages, or you could read something that's 1,000
Sure.
pages long and it feels like it's 500 because it's so fast paced. And I
Mhm.
think this one was more like it felt as long as it was, if not a little more. Whereas a lot of his other
Mm.
writing, like Way of Kings to me, felt a lot. And I
Okay. So
know
you
my
Yeah,
yeah,
it's kind of like
yeah,
watching a
it is
makes
long
so,
movie,
sense. Makes
right? Like
sense.
you can go into Dune and be
yeah,
like, where did this time go? Or you could go to
yeah.
like, yeah, yeah,
And
for
so I
sure.
think there's a valid critique of it's like it's too long. And it doesn't just mean I want a book that is only 800 pages. It means for the page count, the pacing was not um
Mm.
as captivating as that reviewer would
I
want it to be.
Yeah, and that's fair. I
Okay,
guess
fair.
I do disagree with the I I don't disagree with what you said. I just to me it matched my
Yeah, no,
preferences
yeah,
really well. Like I
yeah,
always wanted there was never a time where I wanted to put that book down, and I always picked it up as soon as I could again. And at
yeah,
the near the end, I just like didn't want it to end, you know? So
Yeah.
it was
I feel like let's
yeah,
for sake of time, let's put a
yeah,
pin in this because and we'll see if we come back to it later. Let us know in the comments if like this is interesting at all and we should
yeah.
like continue or just like
Hopefully,
shut up about it.
yeah, hopefully it
Yeah,
just pitters out and yeah.
yeah, yeah. Hopefully that wasn't too crummy of a conversation. But I guess like to try to put a bow on it, I feel like Brandon is like unapologetically just writing the Brandon Sanderson book that he wants to write at this point. And it's the book that the majority of his readers are liking. And I mean, I kind of disagree that there's no point in the Goodreads score because you're seeing that the majority of the people that read it and rate it like it. So he's writing a book that appeals to his fans in like at this point, like that's just kind of what
Yeah,
he's doing. And I don't think he's trying to ever be like this literary giant in delivering this like, great tome of literature. He's just writing and having fun with it, and a heck of a lot of people like it. And so, yeah, I guess it's totally valid to critique and to put lower stars on it if you're not looking for that type of story. But there's a lot of people that are. And at this point, Brandon's like, I've got enough of those people and I'm popular enough, so I'm just going to write that story.
I think the other thing is
yeah,
and this is maybe just like I'm you know, feel free to disregard this thought, but like could it have been cleaned up? Yes. If that takes another 6 months of Brandon's time and then you multiply that by 30 books that he wants to write, like at some point, like there's a
Yeah.
law of diminishing returns here where you just have to say, all right, it's good enough. Like
Yeah,
I know
you
it's not.
mentioned that
Yeah.
in the Reddit a bit. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um.
and yeah, I think that's, in my opinion, I think that's kind of what happened. Like he
Yeah.
has so many stories he wants to tell, and the stories he wants to tell are large in quantity, but also large in length, each one. And so
Mhm.
like I feel like you have to decide what to not cut corners, but like what to kind of
Yeah.
sacrifice
And I
in
guess
terms
like
of
Yeah.
getting your story out.
if I was to see like, some of my favorite characters like that didn't get fulfilling arcs or like that's when I start to be, oh man, like that sucks. But like if it's a few anachronistic words here and there that slip through, I'm like, all right, I'm in favor of keeping those in if it means that we are gonna get through the entire, Cosmere. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, although I
I
do
think
disagree that it's not slipping through. He's doing it on
okay,
purpose because
that's
he
fair.
thinks it's funny.
Wait, I want to
I,
I want to hear what Ryan has to say because he hasn't spoken
Yeah,
in a while.
who's the most correct in all of this, Ryan?
You guys all have great points. Um,
If you're to
I
rate
mean,
each of our
hello,
points,
Brian.
Yeah, out of 10.
I really enjoyed
How many
it. I mean,
stars?
I understand. I understand the criticism. I haven't like personally looked into a lot of what other people are saying. What I've heard is like, secondhand. People are like, on our Discord, like,
Yeah.
oh, like 17th Shard podcast says this. And so it's interesting to me that like a lot of the criticism is coming from people who are
That's the
typically
yeah. We didn't even
diehard
really we I don't think we were
Sanderson
even really talking about
fans.
those people in our comments. We were mostly talking about YouTubers. I guess 17 started are YouTubers, but yeah,
Uh,
that is interesting. I haven't really watched their stuff exactly,
I,
but
I
yeah.
I watched their episode on it. Yeah, I did think it was interesting. It kind of put it in perspective for me. Some of the stuff that I was like, oh man, he needs better pushback on these things. And then hearing them who are part of like a lot of them are part of like the beta reading process saying they all push back on these things. It's like, oh, like you said, Stephen, I think there's less occasions of things slipping through the cracks as much as, no, this is like what I want to do.
I mean, he
Yeah.
said this is the story he wanted to tell, like every scene he wanted to write. So it's like you can say that,
Yeah.
he should edit and like eliminate certain, parts, certain chapters or but this is the product that, like it or not, he wanted to write. And I think for me, this, mostly worked. Like the vast majority of it worked. I do think that
Yeah.
some of the the language and maybe the style of the writing could sometimes pull me out of the story a bit. Um, and that was it was a price I'm willing to like I could quickly immerse myself back in the book. So would I like it not to be there? Sure. Am I fine with it as it is? Yes.
Yeah, I
yeah.
think this kind of goes into my overall enjoyment of the book and criticism. The biggest thing I enjoyed when reading this book was like finding out things, whether it's like
Mhm.
questions that we've always had being answered. And I think for the most part,
Mm.
the answers are really satisfying and like interesting. I still think the ending with like Honor and Dalinar and the concept of champions, I don't know what I even think about that. I'm still trying to fully grasp the implications of that. Um, but like that was for me, it's mostly like finding stuff out that was entertaining, and then also including in that not just answers of questions, but like character arcs, finding out where they ending up. That was really enjoyable for me. Whereas
Mhm.
like the reading of it wasn't like I didn't really feel like I was reading a book that I enjoyed reading as much as like I was consuming a story I like wanted
Yeah.
to know all these
Yeah.
things about. And so I think it's gonna to get like a very accurate review for my enjoyment of this, it's gonna take a reread. And I wonder how much of this book is gonna hold up rereading when you already know these
Yeah.
answers. Whereas
Mm.
like rereading The Way of Kings, I could reread that all the time because it's the journey. Whereas I feel like throw this in there. Book five, Wind and
It's the
Truth was mostly
destination.
about the destination. Like
Yeah.
all these things are destination events happening.
Mm.
Um, and maybe that was just my perspective when reading it. I was reading it with a destination mindset rather
Mm.
than a journey. But
See, it's so interesting. I I really enjoyed reading this part, but just because it brought me back to like the days of my youth where I would like stay up until like 2 a.m. just like
Yeah.
reading under the covers,
It felt like Harry Potter in high school. Like every time
Yeah.
a Harry Potter book would drop.
So
Yeah.
in that regard, like I did enjoy the actual reading experience of it. And I think that's just because I forced myself to do it. Like normally I'm okay just like listening to an audiobook. With this, I listened to some of it on audiobook, but like I read most of it. But I will say it's interesting because I put down The Heroes by Joe Abercrombie to pick this book up.
Ooh, you mean the
Um,
Devils?
oh, sorry, The Devils, not The
Oh,
Heroes.
I still need to read that one.
Um,
I just
is it out
finished.
yet? Oh, you
No, it
just finished?
comes out in May.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that book is so amazing. But when I was reading it, I had to concentrate all the time on like each word that was being used because it's very good, but like it felt like a chore reading it versus like Sanderson was just
Mm.
like, okay, here we go. Like I'm I'm
Dang, that is
jumping back
not
in.
my opinion.
That's not
But
okay.
interesting.
Well, I think I mean
No,
it
no,
does
sorry,
it does go back
not to say your opinion is wrong. I just thought it's very interesting
it does
that
go
was
back
your
to like
take.
the fact that Sanderson like uses much simpler words, much like more
Yeah,
like dialogue that just is meant to convey like he uses like the plain glass analogy versus stained glass analogy,
uh,
right? I feel like I'm reading like I'm looking through stained glass when I'm reading the Devils, and I'm like, this is such a cool way of saying things and phrasing things, but it takes work for me to process it, and a lot of
yeah.
times processing it is coming before the story for me. So I don't know.
Okay. No,
Yeah,
that's fair.
I think people have
I,
said this before, but Sanderson is more of a storyteller
Yeah,
than a writer,
yeah,
with that distinction
yeah,
of
yeah,
like he's plotting and crafting together a story rather than crafting together
yeah.
yeah,
But
and
like, I guess with all the reviews, like, let's not take away the art of crafting a story and plotting all these things and like
yeah,
getting this all
yeah,
like that stuff is amazing. And like,
yeah.
I agree with, a lot of the critiques around some things that could be better in the actual delivery of the story, but I feel like the positives really outweigh the negatives for
yeah,
the most
like
part.
we haven't even
They're still
talked about,
there, sure, but
dude,
yeah.
we haven't even talked about like freaking Kaladin becoming a herald and Zeth being like
Yeah.
more compared to
Okay, let's do
Tien
that
and
now. We're
okay,
gonna
sorry.
officially switch. Although
Okay.
I do want to say before anyone listening, before this total tease, we have an arc for the Devils, and my review of that is going to be out soon.
Okay.
And I really liked it. And as far as my disagreement with Ben, I feel like if I'm reading something like Malazan, like that's where it's a chore to read because like the language is like fairly obtuse and like I really am having to look up a lot of words and like really
And like
focus
the
on like
plot is obtuse.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
Yeah.
it's purpose.
yeah.
Like you have to. Yeah, sorry. I haven't read The
So
Devils. I don't know. I'm trying not to jump
yeah,
in on something I
but
haven't
with- but
read,
with
but
but with Joe Abercrombie, I don't know. I just, like every phrasing is like is
It's
funny
great.
and witty and just like
Yeah.
adds so much. Like I love that stuff. And like yes, maybe you have to think about the words a little bit more, but like I think it adds to the whole experience. Anyway,
I do agree. Okay.
but yeah,
I wasn't
okay,
trying
I
to say
see.
anything
I
away.
see what you're saying. I see what you're
It's just
saying, and that you can really kind of get rolling
yeah.
pretty quickly through Brandon's work.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
Um
so yeah,
let's talk
Kaladin and
about the
Seth's
actual.
arc.
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about the actual stuff. Okay, let's just say like what were our favorite parts? What was mind blowing? What like what's top of mind when you think of, like Ryan? Tell us
Mhm.
your yeah. Now that we're done critiquing, which
critiquing the
clearly
critique.
is no fun. Tell like what were the fun parts of the book for you?
Well, I mean, I did love the fact that Kaladin ends up protecting Zeth at the end and steps into his place to become a herald. So, it's like it's going to be an exciting way that we'll be able to see Kaladin, who is my favorite character in the Stormlight Archive in, books 6 through 10 and see him almost as an equal to these people who have lived for millennia and who have significant mental and other um, ailments. I do think that it's going to be tricky to write because it's like you can only read so much therapizing. Was that the right word? Therapizing?
Yeah, it's a word.
You can only read so much of it before, like, I've never read like, you know, a bunch of therapy in an interesting way, right? So it's like, yes, there was like a lot of therapy for Zeth in this book, and then Nail required a different type, and then Ishar, something different. It's like, how many different approaches will there be, to make this
Yeah.
his story interesting and his relationship with Harold's interesting.
Yeah, if Kaladin's future story is like how he's gonna help each individual herald through their block, I'm not gonna be super excited about that, I gotta be honest.
Right. And
So I think you're right in that it's tricky. Like where is the story going from here? Will he continue to be a main character, or will he be more of kind of like a side guy that shows up every now and then when heralds are needed?
Will Silladin officially become canon?
Oh,
I mean that's a whole other thing.
yeah.
I
It's
thought we were done
much
with
more
critiques.
likely. It's much more likely at the end of this book than in any of the others.
See,
Or
I
will there be a
when
Stacy's
reading,
mom situation going on?
I mean, I've heard people say that like,
She's not.
that's basically confirmed now, but I mean, when I was reading it, I didn't really get those vibes.
No.
So,
I didn't.
There
I
were
didn't either. But I didn't
Well,
pick
there were
up on
vibes,
no,
but
come on.
it
There
wasn't
were vibes. I feel like maybe we didn't want to accept them.
no, there were
it.
vibes,
Maybe
but it
that's what
wasn't
it was.
confirming vibes.
Not
Nothing,
confirming
no
vibes.
confirming vibes. But when
But at the same
she
time, I didn't
like
pick up
she's
on.
writing for him, like that's what the wife would typically do on in Alethkar, right? And
But
they had
also, you
this like
have you
dance
have
thing, and
just
she's like
scribes.
more and more
No,
physical,
they were doing the
and they're
kata
like,
together forever.
yeah, but now they're actually like dancing, and he's so
Yeah,
happy.
there are
And
definitely
there's that where
hints.
there's like leaning heads on shoulder, like there's vibes. They're there. I
It
think
could
we're
it could
not
go in that
wanting to
direction.
accept them.
Not confirming, but I will say, even though it's not confirming for us, I thought Kaladin talking about in this book how Shallan was the one who got away kind of thing. I was like, when was that confirmed? I never felt like that was ever like
Oh, I mean, come on, dude. Yeah.
when?
When they okay, first of all, the moment when they shared like in the chasm, and he was
That
like,
was the
"How?"
it. That was it,
No,
and it
no, no, it
ended.
wasn't. No, it wasn't.
I feel
And
like
then
that it was very abruptly just
okay,
cut.
no, and then and
yeah.
then in Rhythm of War, when they're traveling through
And
the
Rhythm of War.
Oathbringer.
no, when they're traveling through Shadesmar.
Yeah, that's
Um,
Oathbringer.
wait,
That's
was it
Oathbringer.
Oathbringer?
Yeah. They're
Well, with
Okay.
Kaladin,
yeah.
it's Oathbringer.
Shallan
Yeah,
is married to Adolin in Rhythm of War.
No, no, yeah, he is. Sorry, she is. But I think that in Rhythm of War, I don't know. I think Adolin still had some insecurities around Kaladin in
he
Rhythm of
did,
War.
but I never got any sense that Kaladin was ever any more than like fleetingly interested in Shallan and the cave, like
Yeah.
ever, and
Uh,
vice versa. Like it makes sense for Adolin to have some insecurity there, and like I
yeah.
never thought Shallan had anything more than just like a fleeting interest in Kaladin. And so to me, again,
No,
I'm
I
just
mean,
saying,
no,
someone who doesn't,
we know that Vale, or not Vale. I don't know.
Yeah, it was
yeah,
Vale.
Vale,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, the Veil
yeah,
persona is yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
she's always, but like anything more than like a crush or just like
Yeah.
attracted to the idea of Kaladin. And again, I'm saying this was from my perspective.
yeah,
So like
yeah.
me saying I didn't think it was confirmed Syl and Kaladin, I missed out on all of this that apparently was a thing and revealed in Wind and
I
Truth.
don't
So
think it's not confirmed. But there I think like I feel like he and some people on YouTube videos that I've done have expressed frustration about this. Brandon's kind of just like walking this line of like I'm setting up all these little things that like it could be a romance or it could not. And he has
Yeah, he
abruptly
needs to take
ended
a st
romances in the past. So it's really hard to know what he's going to do with this. Like he
yeah.
could pick up the seeds or he could just like, no, it was nothing. Never
But
mind.
this
yeah.
was a big derailing, and I apologize. Back to Kaladin
Yeah.
and Zeth.
Yeah.
My
Big
standout
yeah.
part was playing the flute for Nail. Like that was so
That
cool.
was awesome, man.
Dude,
I
how-
love that.
How has there never been like a time where it's like you overlay all the times that you've practiced an instrument and they all come together to like
Yeah.
create this perfect like tapestry of sound? That is
That's so
such a cool
cool.
concept
It
that
was
like
very cool.
Yeah.
was very original. I feel
It felt like an homage to
To
the
quote.
pipe scene from
Yeah,
Name of the Wind.
yeah.
Um, I I really liked Kaladin and Zeth both had some great moments. The things that frustrated me with their journey is similar to what Ryan was saying about what's he going to do with the next heralds. Like therapizing, and I'm using that word because it sounded right, Ryan. Therapizing Zeth and Nail and Ishar all in one book just felt like
Yeah.
it didn't feel like there's enough time for it. And then we talked about this in our first half review. I don't know what you could have done about it, but the pacing of going from monastery to monastery, each fight scene was amazing. Like they're so cool, but it was just kind of like, it did kind of feel a little
it felt like Pokemon
jarring.
Gym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it felt like, all right, the next boss is up here. Yeah.
At least he
Yeah.
made each one very distinct and different. It
Yeah.
wasn't like, okay, gotta fight these powers now. Like there were fights, but each one was different enough. So I thought that was fine.
He did. I feel like to your point about, therapizing all of them. First of all, you forgot Nightblood, which is, come on, dude, you gotta remember Nightblood.
He didn't
Nightblood
really
just picked it up. Yeah, Nightblood was able
he
to.
didn't therapize.
He therapized
Uh,
Nightblood. He said, "I am not a
no,
thing. I will not
I'm-
kill my friends."
Yeah, but that was-
Nightblood was therapized by was therapized
I think
via
that's-
Kaladin,
I
but
think that's kind of
Kaladin
my
didn't
Not
therapize.
purposeful. Not purposeful.
Yeah,
I think
it was
that's
a passive therapizing.
That's trying
Yes.
to the point I'm trying to get to though is that like we see all of these concepts that Kaladin kind of internalizes and is able to I don't know, like bestow on people without having to go
Yeah.
through and explain
It was
things.
just a bit much to pull off in one.
And I
in
don't
one
think,
book.
to be fair, I don't think Ashar was
Yeah.
really therapized. He was more like blasted
Yeah.
by
It was it was an emotional
yeah.
blasting.
yeah.
But I mean, in the plot, he had to therapize all those people. You know what I mean? So it was just a lot
Yeah.
to try to
Yeah.
accomplish in one book.
And it was a little clunky, but we already kind of
But
went through that.
amazing
Yeah,
scenes, and I
yeah.
think Zeth's backstory was amazing.
So
So many
good, man.
things, so many things I did not expect in terms of plot wise, like him raising a rebellion. I did
Yeah,
not see that coming.
I was not.
at
I
all.
did not think
that
it
was
was going to
crazy.
go that far. Yeah.
Yeah, like it,
Dude, I
it was
honestly
just
like
getting inside his head. Oh
I
man,
almost
really liked
I
it.
almost like shed a tear when his dad was like, I followed you because I thought you had the answers.
Yeah.
You know? Like
Yeah.
that was crazy. Like all these Zeth's backstory like blew me away. It was better than I could have ever imagined.
How did the backstories
fun.
rank? Where do you rank Seth's backstories amongst the other
I think
backstories?
Kaladin, Zeth, Shallan, no, sorry. Kaladin, Zeth, Dalinar, Shallan, and then like 4 tiers below that is
Vinley.
Venli.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vinley,
I struggle with just between Dalinar and Zeth.
yeah,
I'm not sure
Kaladin,
about
and then
2
one
and
of them.
3.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
2
I
and
agree.
3.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
I think the issue with Venley's is it kind of felt like a half attempt at doing Vinley's backstory.
Well,
Because
it's
it was
half
also like-
Eshonai.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it was also like the book was like half Navani too. Like
Yeah.
it just
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah.
I don't have anything against it. It's just like we didn't get the same amount of backstory.
In the other books, the person getting the backstory was also doing really cool things in the present day, like vital things to the
Yeah.
plot. That didn't
Vinley
happen
was-
in Rhythm of
yeah.
War. Yeah.
She
Finley
got
was
she got
there.
something cool at the end.
Yeah, but it wasn't nearly as massive as the other
Yeah.
books.
I think that's more an issue of the character kind of being sidelined
And-
than the character
and-
being bad.
And there was
Yeah.
like a mystery that was pulling it along, right? Like for Dalinar, it was like,
Yeah.
how did he lose his memories of his wife? For Kaladin, it was how did he become a
Yeah.
slave?
Uh-huh.
For Zeth, it was like how did he become truthless?
Right.
And Shallan,
right.
yeah, Shallan had a good mystery
Shallan had-
to her
yeah.
backstory too.
Yeah.
Exactly.
One thing I really liked about this book was how well tied in events from previous books were.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know, like we saw it with Yasna, like events that you'd kind of forgotten about, like where she had,
Oh, and the
you know,
argument
killed the
about,
people
yeah.
in Carbranth, or assassinated her sister, or not, sorry, not assassinated, put
Like
like
took out
a
the
contract
yeah.
to
Yeah.
assassinate
Lucidon.
her sister-in-law. And then with you know, Kaladin, he's thinking like, oh, Zeth is just like me. And then he kind of realized like, oh, Zeth is more like Tien than
Yeah,
me.
that was
Mhm.
another like gut
And
punch, man.
and so
Or the
he's like,
Wander Sales story coming back perfectly for Nail. Like
Yeah.
that
That was
Yeah,
was
mm,
cool.
that was
which is
honestly
like
probably like the
one of the
coolest,
coolest
like
parts.
Sanderson mind blowing, like how did you put this together thing.
Well,
Like four
I
stories
feel
later,
like
it makes sense.
in
Or
my
four
mind,
books
I
later.
I thought it made sense at the time as well. Like I thought it was a rather than Sanderson being a genius and like puzzling these pieces together, but more being a genius and knowing how like a singular story can be impactful to multiple things and multiple
I mean, that's true
characters in
too.
different ways. So
Yeah.
like, and maybe it was he had this in mind ahead of time. But I thought it was just as cool thinking that just
Mm.
he realized this story served its
Yeah,
purpose
yeah,
then and
that's
also
fair.
serves
Yeah.
a different,
Purpose now.
just as good a purpose now.
I'm just gonna say this is gonna sound petty, but that's like a story that somebody might say is just bloat in a book, you know, and could be removed in favor of a tighter narrative. But anyway, we can continue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some people will,
Let's continue. Let's
and it's
continue.
not.
We've
That's
already
like
dwelt.
that's like
We dwelt too
people
much.
people who I know a few people who hate the interludes in Stormlight, and to me, like that is peak
Yeah,
epic
bread and
fantasy
butter.
world
Yeah.
building. I
Skip
love the
this
interludes.
crap. What is the interlude? Yeah.
But
a lot of like the biggest jaw-dropping moments happen in interludes, especially
Yeah.
in this book where Taravangian just wipes Carbranth off the
Yeah.
face of
And then it was a
Roshar.
yeah,
quick JK LL.
I
yeah,
thought
Yeah.
that was
I
cool. That was a nice insight into where Taravangian was at, that he
yeah.
kept everyone alive. And it
Yeah.
also seems like it could be part of his, what we hope, like his ultimate undoing.
Although it is
And now
yeah.
I was gonna say
Whenever
yeah, it's
Sanderson
kind of
says he's not gonna do character death fakes, I'm gonna be like, well, you did like
yeah,
10,000 of them, so
Yeah,
yeah.
no, it's all.
all
Yeah.
right, sorry, Jake, I
Is
can't interrupt you.
Dalinar, speaking of, is
No, you're
Dalinar
good.
still alive? We like
Blackthorn is.
he'll be, well, we know the black. So
Mm.
first of all, I didn't like the Blackthorn thing. It
I
felt like
didn't.
Sanderson was hedging there. I thought about this for a while. I
Yeah,
decided I kind of agree with most of the criticism there. Just like, okay,
to
Dalinar kind of
me,
like did his thing and like made his big sacrifice, but you're still like Taravangian still gets him. Like, I don't like that.
and to me that
Um,
disrupts like the my understanding what the physics, realmatic physics were. It's like, oh, you can just pull
Mm.
anybody out of, you know what I mean? Like,
Because
like I can
because
make
it
a different
existed
version
Well,
enough in the
of
no,
spiritual
you.
realm, he was able
yeah,
to.
he connected enough. This is kind of like
yeah,
the same pattern in which like Zeth's still alive, basically, is that
that's what's different. Seth was like a cognitive shadow that
Yeah.
was connected back to his body via nail magic. I
yeah.
don't know what he
Um,
did there.
I thought that I really liked Dalinar's solution though, where he was just like, you know what, fine, middle finger to the
Yeah.
Cosmere. You guys aren't gonna help
Yeah.
because it's Roshar's problem and not your problem. Well, I'm gonna make it your problem.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
still. I thought it was very entertaining to read that, and I'm still trying to figure out how I feel about that as a final solution
You and
for
Whip.
everything. Well, yeah. Well, just like trying to think of like weighing the amount of lives saved that way, as
Oh, like
well as
was it a
like
good strategy for Dalinar to
yeah,
take?
Okay,
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yasna.
and also like is this the best the best course of action for actually solving this problem? Because I feel like that was what Dalinar came to, not only like middle finger, but also like I know if we do the same thing that's been done, we're going to be stuck in this cycle over and over again. And the only way for things
Uh,
to change is to get other people involved. And this is going to force that to happen, which I thought was really interesting. But yeah, this is one of those things where I feel like this book makes me need to just process so much and not so
mm.
much like I need to process this character dying or this character doing this, but more like, man, I don't like, what does this contextually mean for everything moving forward?
Well, I
But
mean, it also ties in, all the letters that Wit has been writing in the
Yeah,
beginning of chapters, where he's like
yeah,
writes to lots of different people, and then they're like, Ray's is contained where he's at.
yeah,
So I mean,
yeah. All
that was
those
a
cries for help that were like turned down are now like,
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
But to answer your question, Stephen, my understanding was that Dalinar had passed into the beyond,
same.
and
Yeah.
that he is like,
You
out.
don't
He
you
was
don't think
outside.
okay, yeah.
So he was outside of the reach of retribution, Taravangian, because he, you know, like he had said in, the past, like he thought there was still a God, like because of, like a warm feel, or, like I don't remember the exact phrasing, but
Yeah,
Dalinar was like, I don't think that God is dead. I think, Honor, who we thought was the Almighty, is dead.
right.
And so I think that was kind of like a nice way of, like giving Dalinar like a peaceful end.
Yeah.
Although I will say that like a cool theory I don't think is likely, but would be kind of cool, is that if one of the shards that was talked about, but not necessarily like we don't know about, is Valor, um
Yeah.
had taken Dalinar and was like, because Dalinar does have a lot of valorous attributes.
So none of you guys think that Dalinar could show up, because I interpreted that as his soul is passing by. Taravangian was like, I'm gonna grab it, and then he tried to, and the power told him you can't. Someone else has already claimed his soul.
I think
Like, so the someone else is the beyond.
somebody
Is-
asked this on Reddit, and they had specifically like quoted the book, and it said like Dalinar had passed into the beyond,
hmm.
Yeah,
which
my initial interpretation of that was Odium thought he could take him because Dalinar was aligned with his intent enough. And I think what it was saying is like Dalinar wasn't as aligned with his intent as he thought. And so he didn't have that ownership, and so he could pass. And saying like he belonged to someone else, to me meant more like his alignment was with something else, which is why Taravangian could grab him more so than his alignment was with someone else, so that other thing
See,
took him.
I thought somebody else had a claim on him. I thought that might be Neodin as like wanting to have another king.
Noadon?
Or yeah, Noodon. Yeah.
Wait, but then do you think that Noadon is like, do you think that
Shard.
Noadon is Adonalsium, like the remnants of, like that's a
That's kind of
theory
what I
that I've
was thinking.
seen like
Yeah.
floating around, like Adonalsium's still kind of alive, and he's Adonalsium, and he's also like the god that Dalinar has been feeling, because that's mentioned a few times, mostly
Mhm.
in the post in the epigraphs that are the posts that what the postlogue, what is the word, the epilogue of Oathbringer,
Postlude.
the
Oh.
in-world book, yeah, postlude. Right. So the epilogue to the in-world book, Dalinar is writing about feeling this like God, and it's never really resolved or talked about much, and it kind of feels like there's something else. And Noadon in the vision is like super sus, like clearly something is going on.
Yeah. Oh, is is Dalinar gonna become Agent Alcium?
I
No,
have to explore that Noadon theory more. So was he alleged like he was a real person, right? And
We've
then
he
come
was a
back to
real
Theoryland.
person.
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
the theories that he has been absorbing Adonalsium's remnants, little
Or
bits.
that like Adonalsium survived in some way, and so like
But
Noadon
like
was a real person, but he's actually like that was it, because he talks about knowing Midius, who's Wit, so it's not Wit, but it like for a while I was reading this as like Noadon is Wit, and then he says that he knows Midius. I'm like, okay, that theory is off the board.
yeah,
But it
yeah,
seems like there's something is weird with this. It's not a regular vision by any stretch of the imagination.
yeah. it kind of felt like a. Never mind. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
feel like that's
Looking
going
through
to
the
be
book right now.
yeah. That's going to be something. I don't know when that actually gets played out, probably years from now, but I feel like that was pretty important.
What about
Yeah, it
what do you
says
guys- Oh,
it says Dalinar's soul slipped away from him, stretched, and vanished into the beyond. Taravangian scrambled to hold it, but like water through fingers, he could not. You cannot have him, the powers said, for he is claimed by another. So the powers said that.
So he's vanished into the beyond, but he's also claimed by another. It's like
right.
there's two different meanings here. What is it?
Well,
Like
but we
another
don't know
doesn't
that
seem like
much.
the beyond
Maybe
is not
maybe,
a thing.
maybe the
I mean,
beyond
it
is
is
the
a
new
thing,
spiritual realm.
but
No, it's
yeah,
beyond the spiritual realm.
it's
Well, I
exile
know.
from magic.
All right, so I'm
So
looking up the Beyond on Coppermind. It
Okay,
says the
yeah.
Beyond is an unknown location that the people of the Cosmere are drawn to after they die.
this is very Tolkien-esque.
See, so
So
it's a location. It's not a thing that could have claim on his soul.
But the
But
powers, when it says the powers here, is that again, first time
Honor,
reading, I
honor and
interpreted that
odium,
as
right?
honor and odium saying
Yeah.
that, saying like, hey, we can't do this. And would part of it be because he didn't like lose the contest? And
well,
so
I
odium
think
is bound to not, he can't have his soul because he could only have his soul if he lost the contest.
Could be. Hmm.
I don't
yeah.
know. What
Dang.
were you gonna say, Ben?
Yeah. This we need an answer for this, but
I think
mean,
we
in truth,
need
this
a.
would be this would be Raffod.
I think
Like heck.
yeah.
If we-
Yeah.
We
yeah.
I think we need like another episode where we just do Theoryland approved conjectures.
Yeah.
All right, with the last few minutes here, some things that I didn't like about the book that don't have to do with the other criticism we talked about, like the actual plot. Which one of these do we want to spend a few minutes on? Abadai the Monarch, possibly the worst villain that I have read in epic fantasy. The Yasna thing, the debate.
That's my
I
least
didn't
favorite.
think it was very good. And let's see, I had a couple other ones.
Relane and Renarin, we haven't talked about them at all.
Well, but I
Theirs is
liked
fine.
I liked
We're
them a
limiting
lot.
to this that
Yeah.
we don't like.
Yeah, no, I was
gonna say
just
them.
throwing out a few like
Yeah.
I don't know, things that
Oh, not seeing Talon go ham. That was
Oh
such a
yeah,
disappointment
come
for
on.
me.
Yeah, off camera, really? I guess we're saving
Yeah.
it for book
See,
7
that's-
or whenever that
I
is.
would trade all of Yasna's story arc for the same number of pages of Talon
Yeah.
going nuts.
The other thing that I wanted more of, I wanted more of Elle. I thought Elle was a super cool villain.
Yeah,
And I was
Elle
like,
is cool.
okay, Abadai the Monarch, like, I absolutely sucked. And like, why did we give all that
in the
time
blood
to
of
Elle?
radiance.
He was so bad. He got his butt kicked every single time he appeared on screen.
He was neutral for me, like a disappointing villain and like very
One-dimensional.
it's similar to the Pursuer to me, where it's just like, okay, here's
Yeah.
this guy.
But at least the Pursuer was someone that we were a little afraid of because he beat up on Kaladin a few times. Why are we ever
Yeah.
afraid of Abadai? We never saw him being competent in any way.
Yeah, he was never really a villain until the scene with Adolin with no shards. Like that's the only time he was a threat,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah,
Big threat.
and then he was immediately once again defeated.
No, not immediately. I thought that sequence was
Yeah, I mean,
decently built out.
I loved how
he did not have the upper hand on a guy who recently lost his leg.
He did
and
have
had
the upper
no
hand.
weapons. He
He
not
did-
for very long. Not for very long. He held the upper hand
He
for a
blew
very
it.
short time.
He blew it, but he did have the upper hand.
sir.
I
But
know,
because
but like
he wrote into it, Brandon wrote that he wasn't trying to kill Adolin because he wasn't, I can't remember why, but he was like, he wasn't sure where the king was or something like that. That's why, or the emperor.
they didn't know where Yanagon actually was because Yanagon
Yeah.
was dressed as the
Yeah.
thief.
So he was
Yeah.
stalling. He was stalling like intentionally.
Yeah.
He
What
blew
other
it.
options?
He
I
really
don't want
blew
to
it.
talk about Abadi the Monarch.
All right.
Yeah.
Yasna? I just feel like
So-
this is so funny, but anyway.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
the
will
Yasna
say,
stuff.
Yasna,
Yeah.
I don't like the whole debate thing. Well, I thought it was okay, but not as the culmination
Yeah,
of her character.
you're a
Yeah.
law school student, Ben.
But
Like, you know,
I did um I did appreciate that she has to question her whole like worldview. It's giving me a lot of like a lot of what's it? Harmony vibes, not harmony. What?
Sazed.
Yeah,
Sazed.
Sazed vibes, where it's
Yeah.
like everything he knew is wrong, and he has to kind of go back to basics to figure it out. And so I'm excited that she's being challenged in that way. I agree
I
that
like that
the
idea. I like that
yeah.
idea a lot. And like where I like the idea to put her in that position and set her up for that type
And
of growth.
the thing is, and I think why the debate was important for that is because there's no other way that she would have actually questioned her point of view unless she was like so thoroughly like defeated with
Yeah.
like a lot of like
with
a
her
lot riding on
style
it.
of
Yeah.
I
'Cause
just don't
otherwise-
think I just don't think she was really defeated like in that way. Like I don't think it played out that
yeah.
way.
I feel like all of it works, but then when you read it, you're like, this doesn't work.
Well, no, I mean, if her mentality is she wants to do the greatest possible good for the most amount of people, like which is her whole philosophy.
No, I mean like you could probably go through it and
I
write
see.
out like all of the what
Like
do they
the
call
proofs
it?
or whatever.
Yeah, you could write out all the logic and say, this follows this, which means this, which
Yeah.
like it probably all works. But in the book, it didn't work because like the reader knows how bad Odium is, and it's just like so unbelievable that Fen would actually side with this guy. Like
No, it's not because Fen wasn't trying
was,
to.
though.
Okay,
For me,
I
it
appreciate
was
what
at
you're saying,
least.
but
Yeah.
Fen wasn't trying to side with Odium. She was trying to do what was best for her people, and
It just
what-
seems so
So
short-sighted of her
how
to
do you
do
trust
that.
Yeah.
how do you trust Odium after he just
Yeah.
violated the spirit of a contract that he made with
because
Dalinar
he
like
has a gun
weeks
to your
ago?
head, right? Like she might not trust him, but
Yeah, you don't trust him. But I think the biggest miss for me is like it only works if you are focused on like Fen just saving her people. But like I don't understand how like the whole purpose of making the coalition was because we are greater than our people.
Yeah.
And so like I don't understand how it didn't make sense for me for Fen to revert back to that space of like, oh yeah, I need to do what's best for my people and somehow forget that this is like an existential threat for humanity on Roshar.
But see, the thing is, Fen had always kind of done that. She was still not wanting to let the like armies go, even though it was like apparent that there was no actual threat. Like her character
That doesn't mean
always.
that doesn't mean she's prioritizing her over everyone
did.
else. It's like no, because
does.
because you still there's so much unknown in that situation. You
Sure,
know,
but
so
like but if
that's not a
if you
very
truly
good.
have the Roshar as a whole and on the top of your mind, and you know that like the proximate threat that you got all of your like windrunners and everybody to come and help with is no longer the proximate threat, then you would say, all right, go help with somebody else.
But you don't know that there isn't another proximate threat was the whole thing. Like that's
I know, but
it's not the same as like, oh, we're safe, but I still want to keep you. It's like we're safe from this one threat.
But
It's
Fen had always considered her kingdom first, and was always skeptical
yeah,
of
to
Enleti.
a certain degree, all of them did. But the fact that they had the coalition itself speaks to that growth.
Okay,
Like
yeah,
it speaks to that change. And like I think it's just a huge miss that also like Yasna would have been like, yeah, I did these things and I have been prioritizing this, but this is bigger than us right now. Like we need to understand this. Like I'm not perfect. Like I understand I'm not perfect.
yeah.
Like I don't feel like that's outside of Yasna's character to understand
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm a human being. I make mistakes.
But
and
that's
like I
why-
act out of fear.
That's why
Like-
the culmination was her saying sometimes you just have to was Yasna saying sometimes you just have to be selfish, and that was when Fen was like, crap, like
And I don't think and what I'm saying is I don't think that makes sense for Yasmin to really do that. Like she would be like, yes, I was acting selfish in that time. That isn't something you should do though in this
Okay.
situation.
that's fair.
Like,
Yeah.
that's why I feel like it didn't work for me.
I get it.
But-
Okay, yeah. I mean,
But I mean, I feel like you have a point there, Ben, in that like Brandon tried to lay a lot of seeds of like even though the what are they the community the what are we calling this
They
coalition?
Oh,
Yeah,
the
the coalition. Even though the coalition had been around for a few years, like we're still like very much kind of out for their own
Yeah.
lands to some self-preservation a little bit. Like there were lots of those threads, especially the freaking Mink, who's like maybe a worse character than Abadai, in my opinion. Like,
I
Really?
don't understand
what is the
that was
point
ended
of
on
that?
such a cliffhanger. Yeah, like he better have something huge happening in the
Yeah.
next 5
That's
books.
something you could that right there. That is the first thing I would cut from this book.
The Mink.
Never,
Like,
never
the only
really
thing
cared
is it
for
didn't
this
take up.
character and like why?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
why?
but it didn't
Yeah,
take up
I
that much
agree.
either. So,
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it made me really mad that he was forcing like some of our precious resources to be diverted to his own thing when like everyone else is
yeah,
working together and he's supposed to be the leading general of the freaking coalition and like this is what he's
yeah.
doing to
Yeah.
their war effort. Like that made me
And
so
he
mad. That
immediately
did
gets
not make
captured.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
right. Yeah.
I
I
what
think my biggest critique with Yasna is it feels like after this debate, it feels like the character Brandon wrote in book 1 does not match the character we see in like Rhythm of War onward. And so
How
this is
so?
like she you only see like her very cold and calculating in The Way of Kings in book 1. Which is kind of the juxtaposition you get in this and the debate is you see how cold she was against those potential assaulters and like killing them outright versus like I can't remember if it's Oathbringer. I think it's just Rhythm of War when you start to get more things through her perspective and she gets humanized a little more in through this book as well. And what I see is this is a flaw in like how she was humanized rather than a flaw in like her worldview not aligning with or her values not aligning with what she's trying to do. Like I don't know. Like it feels like those are different characters that were written and that we don't see a progression of like how she got there, what. And like if she were more true to um her book 1 counterpart in this book, that scene wouldn't like shouldn't have come as a shock to me. It should like she should have been like, yes, I did that thing and I know why I did that, rather than like, oh yeah, I killed those people. Why did I do that? You know, like how does this play into my overall strategy here? Anyways, that's my main critique with that.
Yeah. I didn't love it either. She's such a cool character and like
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel she was
that's my
nerfed.
order. Like I'm an Elf Scholar. I don't like
I-
that.
But I like what
I-
you said, Ben, though.
I do have
like
high
where it
hopes.
puts her.
Yeah.
I like where it puts
Yeah.
her. I just wish we
Agreed.
could have gotten there in a more
Yeah.
believable way.
Her book is going to
Um,
be book 10. So
Really?
Yeah.
it's going to
Woof.
be, yeah. I
I
know.
hope we're alive.
Like, yeah.
I
So
hope we're alive.
another like few
Yeah,
honorable
I do
mentions,
too.
just because I know we're kind of running low on time, and thank you, audience,
Yeah.
who stuck with us this whole time. But I loved Stephen. I defy you. I defy you not to like Lift in this book. Okay, she was awesome.
She did some good things, and
She
I
even
am
impressed
looking
Nail,
forward.
or
I'm looking-
whatever his name is.
Vasher.
Vasher. Yeah.
Yeah.
She did impress Nail too.
Yeah.
She was the only other person.
Yeah,
that could do it.
that is
Sorry,
you
yeah,
are
I got
right,
that
yeah.
mixed up. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm looking forward to where her character is in 10 years when she's matured a little bit, and I think it could be
I mean,
like,
big
very good.
big L on losing Gav, but
Yeah. Dude, Gavinor, that man.
Wait,
what
we
was
haven't
crazy. I feel
lost.
so
Oh,
bad
I see
for
what you're
I
saying.
feel so bad for Gavinor.
well, she like
Yeah.
lost him to the spiritual
Yeah.
realm. But I love
Somebody
how
who's going to need a
Dalinar.
lot of therapy is Gavinor.
I love how Dalinar
I
sacrificed
think he
himself
could be
to
a
save
very
him.
interesting character in the
Yeah.
next books, Gavinor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that Adlin is gonna have his work cut out for
Oh, I
him.
should have rewatched our part 1 episode because I said something about I was like Gavinor went missing for like a whole day in the spiritual realm. You don't think that's like suspicious?
Yeah. Well, that's not when it happened though.
No, but like that's Taravangian was working on him then.
Oh, yeah. Well,
He
when
didn't. He hadn't
yeah.
kidnapped him yet, but
The part where I like
Yeah.
posted a screenshot too was like when he was like, "That's the voice that I've been hearing. That's my father." And
yeah, yeah,
oh crap.
yeah.
Would you guys
All
have
right.
liked to see Elokar as the champion?
No, that
No.
would have felt the same as like pulling out the Blackthorn, but worse. in my
Yeah.
What
opinion.
about Gavilar?
It could have
I
worked
think-
if it was built up differently.
Yeah.
Same? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like maybe he had been on Braze somehow, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe he had achieved Herald status and we just didn't know.
Yeah, no, that could have been interesting. I mean, especially with Dalinar's history, like that. Yeah, that could have.
Yeah.
could have worked, but didn't.
I
happen.
thought the Gavinor
Yeah.
stuff worked fine, but
Yeah. Okay, we didn't touch on a lot of things like Ben mentioned, Renar and Mulan, Shallan, hardly anything with Chana and everything.
Bentley's not worth touching on because she hardly did anything
Man,
in
I
the
thought the
whole book.
shark
No, she
pool
was
thing was
great.
going to be cool, but then it was like
Chasm
nothing. So,
themes.
yeah.
I thought
Anyway,
Bentley's parts were fine.
we will
Maybe
we'll
touch
get
up
to
on those
more.
later. We'll see.
Let us know. Yeah, let us know what you liked, what you want to hear more about, and then if you want to hop on Discord, we'd love to have you join us.
Yeah.
Till next time. What did we started with
With
with refugees from
Denizens
Braze
of
or
Braze,
Ashen?
yeah.
Ashen. Yeah.
Ashen.
Yeah, good luck finding your way back through Roshar in a very inhospitable land, and we'll see you later.
all right.
Bye.
Bye.
Void let out.